What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are all doing well. It's a shaky camera here, and I apologize. It's half past noon here in the East Coast, and I just wanted to go live, update you guys on some stuff. I know I've got a mixed group of people who've been watching me for a while, and some people who are finding me more recently. I welcome everybody, and this is really for everybody. The people who've been following me for a while are probably going to get more out of it than others, but I've got stuff for even if you're finding me initially. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to try to be brief. I'm going to talk about, I want to do an update on Snapchat and how you can get $1,000 to basically put toward to help you learn how to work Snapchat ads. So if you have a small business, that's definitely something free $1,000 bonus that they're doing. Webinar, and there is a time limit on that. They're just doing it for new accounts in June. That's why I wanted to do another announcement. Now I've got another video that I just did. I'll finish that up, not leave you guys with a teaser. I've got another video that I just did, and it is on why I think I make a pretty compelling argument for why Snapchat ads are actually definitely worth your time right now. Definitely, it's way easier to learn. Some of the summaries are it's way easier to learn. It's more effective than Facebook and Instagram right now. And then that $1,000 matching bonus. Check out that video after this, or even do it right now. I wouldn't mind if you pop off and go watch that. But yeah, and I created a whole little calling it a boot camp on Snapchat that'll basically walk you through the layout so you're familiar with it, and show you how to make your first ad, walk you through it. And most importantly, I discuss some of the concepts that I've learned not only from Snapchat, but also my experience messing around with Facebook ads. So for any business out there, I don't care who you are, what you do. If you're not on social media, if you're not constantly learning social media, it's definitely going to only be more and more of a disadvantage if you don't know how to market on that stuff. And what I love about Snapchat is they've made it much more simple. And I think a lot of programs are or a lot of platforms are going to follow this suit, where they want it to be as easy as possible for you to learn how to use their software and basically pay them money, because that's what they're in it for. They want to sell ads to you. So if it's easier for you to do, it's definitely gonna be easier for you to spend money, better for them. Snapchat did a great job at that. Also, for those of you who have been following for a while, those of you who are following me for meal plan, meal prep, meal delivery business, kind of advice, especially those who've been following me for a while, probably familiar with the software that I've been talking about. Not only the software that we were initially developing, but now this new software that I found. I spoke with the developer yesterday, or not the developer, I spoke with the owner yesterday, and he said that they should have something to me this week. So I think they're setting me up with my own login demo. I didn't really ask him the specifics, but he's basically saying they should be setting me up by the end of the week. So that will finally allow me to do the walkthrough. I'm going to do a webinar for you guys because I want to be able to, I think it'd be cool if I was in your shoes. I'd like to see a live walkthrough. So it's not just a video I'm watching. I could actually ask, wait, can you go back to this section or that section? Click on this. So I think that'd be cool for you guys. So I'll give you more details as soon as I have it in hands. I schedule that webinar. So definitely check out the links in my other videos. This live thing is also new to me. One of the reasons that I'm doing the live stream is I want to get used to how it works. One of the things I didn't think about is I needed to have my links thought out ahead of time so they'd be in the notes below. But I didn't do that. So you're going to have to check out the previous video. But there will be a link in there where you can sign up. I'm going to do an email and text blast before I do that webinar. And like I said, I'll walk you through that. And then the other thing I have to talk about is the Habit Technician course. That's something I've been working on, and I think that it'll help with a lot of you guys. And now, whether you're a business owner or you're an aspiring business owner or you're an employee, I think this stuff is it applies to everybody. Anybody who wants to do better. Not everybody has the ambition to start a business or to grow their business bigger than what it is, but I think everybody wants to be better at what they do in their personal lives. Oh, I just saw RDAP Dan in the comments. What's going on, Dan? Hope you're excited. I guess you're excited. I'm guessing based on the timing, you're excited about that webinar software. So hopefully you tune in for that walkthrough as well. But in any case, I think everybody wants to do better as a human being, whatever they do. They want to be a better parent, better student, better at their job, better employee, better leader. And it all comes down to habits. That's one thing. I'll tell you more about what I've got planned for that. And my new mission, I guess really that's where I'll start, and then I'll go back over the other stuff. My new mission, I've been thinking a lot about what I want to do as far as transitioning my consulting and what I'm doing with YouTube and all this content. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm getting great feedback from you guys. I love helping your businesses and giving you guys advice as much as you receive it. The consultations that I've been doing are great. I have a blast doing them. I don't know what it is about it, but there's something about just knowing how much that's helping, because I've been in a lot of your situations, and even people, I'm also helping with people who are outside in my personal life. I have people who I do advise, and I give them some help on their businesses, even though they're not related to meal prep stuff. And I'm going to start getting more into generalized business stuff, because a lot of the principles that apply to the meal prep business and my experiences there are pretty universal. Like leading people is a universal skill that you always want to improve and reassess. And it doesn't matter if you've got a meal prep business or a restaurant or a hedge fund. Learning to be a good leader, time management skills, communication skills, all these things, all these lessons that I learned in the meal prep business are applicable everywhere. So I always try to give that advice out, because I feel, a lot of you are familiar with the phrase rising tides raise all ships. I feel that information almost compounds in value when you share it. A lot of people want to hoard information and they keep their own secrets, and that doesn't make the world a better place in the long run, I don't think. And even their experience, while they might not be able to quantify the difference between whether or not they shared information or didn't, I just think that, a closed fist doesn't really get a lot of opportunity. So if you're closed fisted with your information, you're not going to be able to put a whole lot in. There's nobody else who's going to be forthcoming with their information. By exchanging stuff and exchanging your perspectives, then a lot of people, and it might not be directly, and it might not be that person you gave this tip to is going to fire back with another tip that's going to change your life. But I think being on that frequency, and not to get all woo-woo, but I think there's frequencies that certain people are tuned into. When you're in the frequency of giving, more things are given to you. So when it comes down to information, like I've got situations and stuff where I need some counsel and advice in my life as well. And it's amazing. There's people who now in my network happen to either have had very direct experience with the things that I need, some advice on, or they know somebody who's an expert at that. So I've got an abundance of information, almost unsolicited. Things have just come up in conversation where it's like, oh yeah, I'm looking to do this. It's like, oh, you know what? My uncle does that. I should put you in contact with him. It's like, oh man, that's all right. That's pretty amazing. Can't tell you how often that's happened in the last month. And it's been pretty amazing. And I definitely think it's because I'm giving information out. So with you guys following this, I'm going to jump all over the place. But one of the things I want to say is, share. As soon as you learn something, look for some way to give back. It might not be something related to your business or the book you're writing or whatever specifically you're learning. But yeah, keep getting, the woo, man. It's all about the woo. I think the woo is going mainstream. I think there's going to be, I think we're experiencing an awakening. I'm referring to Mike Dooley in the comments there. Keep getting woo. It's all true, man. Yeah, I think we're in an exciting time where, with the advent of modern technology and their internet, we're exposed to more information than ever before. And certain stuff, you ever notice how certain things just resonate with you? They just click. There's just something that just seems so inherently true that it's almost like when you learn it, it's almost like you're remembering it. I think there's a lot of that information. I'm not going to get specific with it, but I think a lot of people are getting more exposed to that where they wouldn't have in the future, in the past. And the future is only going to have more of those kind of connections. There's only more of that experience. Like my life has been changed by, Eckhart Tolle and studying Buddhism and things like that. And you'd think, 50 years ago, some white guy in Florida probably wouldn't have known too much about Buddhism, because I would have had to have gone to, a library, gotten a book, and really, but now with the internet, you can stumble upon things that will change your life. So, yeah, getting into the woo-woo. I think more of you are going to get into that. I definitely getting into that, I think will make it click where you'll have this compelling force that makes you want to give. Like I've got a list behind me. I've got a whiteboard full of ideas for videos and all sorts of stuff that I want to get out there. And it's all stuff that, like, as soon as it's so funny. As soon as it gets in my head, I get so excited about it. And YouTube has given me the platform to share it with other people who actually want to hear about it, because my friends in my normal life, while they love me, I'm sure they don't want to hear me talk about chatbots or Snapchat or APIs or Zapier connections and stuff. It's very few and far people in between who have any interest in that. So I'm excited when I'm able to reach out across the globe and put these little videos out. And even, only if a handful of you guys jive with it, that's amazing, because in my normal life, it's like, I have like this much attention span of my fiance until she's like, all right, let's change the subject. I understand you're really excited about the chat bots, but I've heard enough about it. What's up, creative? I knew it's hard for me to see this with the lights. Yeah, man, kindred spirits. And we had a great conversation the other day. I definitely appreciate the consultation support. I get as much from the consultations and giving to you guys as you do, I feel. So it's, like I said, I highly recommend, once you're in a position to, give, whenever you're in a position to give. Actually, you guys are always in a position to give. Don't think that you're not. I know a lot of people who are blocked by the dialogue in their head, and there's always something that you can give, and there's always a way that you can help. And this recent experience with the COVID stuff, actually being able to give stuff physically, giving out food and donations, that was amazing as well. So definitely getting back to my new mission, as I was saying before I got on that tangent, my new mission of what I've been thinking is, like, I've got these feelings, these ambitions in me, and I'm trying to focus them more, but I'm realizing what I want to do. My whole goal is now to start aggregating not only the knowledge that I have, but also like connections and things. I want to try to make it as like business in a box for you guys as possible, where things are just turnkey. So I've got the software, and I think that's going to be the hub that I build everything around. Once I really dig deep into the software, I'm going to figure out what the limitations are, and whatever it doesn't have, then I'm going to put, and I've got some ideas. I've already started coming up with a list of other softwares and things like that that would be complementary to that. And I also know that some people don't care about that software because either they're on their own platform, or maybe they're not following me for specific meal prep advice, but there's still other softwares that they'd benefit from, that I've learned, and I just want to get them out there. So the advertising stuff is one of the things, like I said, the advertising, I think, applies to everybody. Whether or not you're doing a meal prep company, I think you should be on Snapchat. I'm sure there are a lot of businesses where it doesn't make sense to be on Snapchat. If you're doing a lot of B2B stuff, probably not Snapchat, probably better on LinkedIn, obviously. But for average people who are going for average businesses that are going after the average consumer, I think Snapchat is undervalued right now. I haven't been tuning into too much of what Gary Vee has said specifically on Snapchat, but I know he was saying years ago Facebook was undervalued and underutilized, and now that's not so much the case. It's getting very expensive to advertise on there, so it's always better to switch to where there's fewer people before it gets overpopulated and things get too expensive. So again, my mission is just to bring more content like that to you guys. I do want to talk specifically about the meal prep stuff when the questions come up, but I feel like there's so much information on that already that now I'm going to start peppering in more like mainstream kind of topics for you guys that are going to be more generalized about business, mindset, things that interest me. It's kind of selfish as well, because these are the things that I naturally gravitate to. So it's like I'd be with my spare time getting into this stuff as well. Now I just have you guys to talk to. So bear with me. Watch the ones that interest you. Skip the ones that don't. You won't hurt my feelings. And hopefully we'll all learn something and take away from it and be better on the other side of it. The other thing I want to talk about that also correlates with that is habits. I am not perfect with my habits, but I'm always trying to adjust them and improve them, and I'm always trying to ameliorate. And when you have habits, which are basically the way I've come to look at them, is different levels of programming. It's like different levels of code in the system that is me. And by altering these habits and being able to refine and kind of alter the codes that we have, we're able to, I don't want to say autopilot, because there's definitely a lot of effort. There's a ton of effort in maintaining habits, especially good habits. Good habits always seem to be the higher friction ones, right? There's definitely a lot of effort that's exerted in doing that. And it's going to be, a sustained amount of effort that you have to do over a long period of time. But changing that code does make it easier to make that stuff closer to automation. Even though it won't be automated, it makes it closer to that. And it just sets you up for success. The way I look at a lot of things, I came up with this weird principle a few years ago, and I was just reflecting on all of the great men and women, but I have this great man kind of concept where I know I'm not the person I want to be yet. Probably none of us are, unless you're a complete narcissist or a very accomplished person, very impressive to you. But I would say that most of us probably aren't the person we want to be. And I reflect, and I always try to compare myself to that person I want to be. And I made it kind of like an amalgamation of a bunch of different people. There's reasons I respect Teddy Roosevelt. There's reasons I respect Martin Luther King. There's reasons I respect Abraham Lincoln. There's reasons I respect, and you can respect people who are even, relatively nefarious characters. There are people who are very good at certain things. They're just not all good. There's certain people who I respect because of their professional career or because of things that they've accomplished or whatever else. And there's probably stuff on their personal life that I wouldn't necessarily jive with or even condone or approve of. But you take those bits and pieces. Grant Cardone is an example of someone who, on many levels, I respect him. He's a great father. He's a great husband. He's a great leader. He seems like a hell of a boss, and he's also successful. But those other things are way more impressive than me, because there's a lot of guys who have made a lot of money. And the other stuff, like if we look at, say there's 10 boxes of characteristics, and your bank account is one, and your leadership skills are one, and who you are as a husband, a father, yada, yada, those are all one. There's some guys who have an amazing stat in one of those boxes, and some of the other ones aren't as impressive. Grant Cardone has an amazing amount. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, that guy is incredible. So I'm always trying to figure out ways that I can kind of, I always ask myself, when it comes down to a decision or an action, what would a great man do? And that great man that I have in my head is an amalgamation of all those characteristics that I like of those people. So I look at ways to program and change my habits as in a way to, again, get as close to autopiloting and making the decisions easier. When you have that moment where you can recognize the decision that you're making, especially if it's a pivotal decision, ask yourself, what would you do? Otherwise, most of the decisions we make are on autopilot. When we reach into the fridge for something, sometimes we pause and we think, oh, should we have this or that? And when it's like cupcake versus salad, probably going to be more of a pause. But all those little differences where it's like, oh, can I have the juice or the water? The juice isn't that bad. I'll just have a little bit of juice. It's all those little decisions that I think are the difference between success and, I'm not going to say failure, but failure to achieve the success that you wanted. People think that it's like this one big decision or maybe a handful of big decisions. And not to say that it isn't. It definitely is. But I think also having all those small decisions aligned makes it a little bit easier. Making a decision to not put myself in the way of temptation makes it a lot easier for me to turn down temptation, right? Because I'm not there. If I'm not in the cupcake aisle, if I'm not in the bakery, I don't have to turn down the cake. I'm not around the cake. I make that decision to, that little course correction, that 1 degree decision over here kept me from going anywhere over here where the temptation was, and whether the temptation is, food or, procrastination, whatever it is, making it easier with habits, changing things in your environment, making a conscious effort to recreate your life and redesign who you are and your trajectory. I think that is huge. And as I said before, that's not something that's unique to a meal prep owner. That's not something that's unique to an entrepreneur. That's not even something that's unique to, any sort of profession or ambition. There's some people who don't have the goals to be, have their name on anything impressive or really do much more, and that's fine, but they still want to be a better father, a better parent, a better employee at their job that they're at. And I think, like I said, most people have that desire to be better. Some people might feel like it's too hard, so maybe they lie to themselves and they say they don't want to be better, because then that would admit that they've let themselves become something that they don't want to be, and that starts a whole cathartic circle. But I think a lot of us, put our egos aside, we probably would like to improve each and every day in just about every single way. So habits are the key of that. And whether your goals are to, climb a mountain or lose weight or start a business or grow a business or learn Spanish, the habits that you program, the programming that you do in your body, in your brain, and around you are definitely going to help that. So I say that long diatribe to say this. I've been working on, I'm calling it habit technician. And the idea is just like the idea with Casey, the student. I'm not a master. I'm not an expert. I'm someone who's constantly learning. I tell my fiance this all the time. I don't have to be the professor. If you're a freshman and I'm a sophomore, there's something I can tell you. I can tell you where the lockers are. I can tell you what teachers to avoid, what teachers are cool. Like I don't have to be the professor, and I can still give you some information that helps you out. So the habit technician comes in that same kind of motif or fashion, where it's not the habit master or anything pretentious like that. You're not a habit expert. You're a habit technician. You're someone who's going to look at it analytically and make the adjustments that you need to. I want it to be data-driven without being something that's overwhelmed with data and monitoring and, watch like every ounce of water that you ate, every single macro. It doesn't have to be that strict. And a lot of times, sometimes that'll make someone fatigue the entire endeavor because they're overwhelmed with documenting everything. So I don't want it to be overwhelmingly data-driven, but more so see what needs to be changed, what would give you the most benefit, what little changes you can make that are going to turn into the most benefit. Where can you change that, make that 1 degree change that's going to end up changing the entire arc, as opposed to putting a lot of effort into something that's really not going to give you as much of a benefit. So the habit technician course right now, I'm designing it to be a 6-week course. I don't want it to be anything that's too long. It'll probably end up being 8 or 10 weeks after I go through it, because I had to trim out so much information. And I feel like once I go through it, I'm going to I'm going to turn like all the 1 hour webinars or 1 hour videos that I make probably into like an hour and a half or 2 hours, because there's a lot of information I'm trying to trim out, but also make sure everything makes sense. But like I said, right now it's going to be a 6-week course. I'm working on that. I got all the content done, but I'm excited to introduce that to you guys. And obviously people who are in the meal prep everyone who's in Meal Prep Biz 101 group or the Meal Plan Mafia, which is the exclusive private group. You guys are in there. You're going to have special access to it. Everybody else, you'll still have access to it. Probably not the first round. Everyone in the group obviously gets preferential treatment, but I am very excited about doing that. I want to do small groups initially and get everybody's feedback. I'm trying to do it in a way that's scalable. And the constraints I know I'm going to have are going to be time. Like ideally, I want to have a community, because that's one of the most important things, is having that community of people who are on that same frequency. They're on that wavelength of making themselves better, just like the Meal Plan Mafia. Like the whole reason I wanted to start that group is because I wanted a place for those specific discussions. Because if we go to a Shopify platform, we can get answers specific to Shopify. But if someone doesn't have, food products, or they don't have, the different portioning sizes, there's a lot of stuff that's specific to what our industry is that isn't going to be on that Shopify website group or the Snapchat group or anything like that. So I want to make the Meal Plan Mafia, and also I wanted to make it something that it'll make us hold ourselves accountable as that group gets more dense and there's more people in there. I want to definitely work on making an accountability and engagement thing. I haven't built a community before, so I'm trying to figure out how to get that. I don't want to make it something that's, like a cruise director where I'm like trying to force everybody to dance against their will or anything. But I do want to introduce thought-provoking questions for you guys to make you kind of self-reflect and ponder and maybe share your perspectives and answers, but also something that helps us hold ourselves accountable. The habit course community is going to be specifically for that. So like I said, the scheduling constraints are one of the things that I'm trying to figure out that'll kind of hinder how many people can be in the class at one time, as well as how many classes I can do and all these other things. But I'm figuring that out. First and foremost is getting down see the comments. Awesome concept. Yeah, man. Yeah. Donating. I'm thinking you're probably watching earlier on in I believe that's Ralph, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the name, the difference. I forget the handles. And if your name's not in your handle, but I think that's Ralph. We spoke last week or the week before. Ralph's talking, anything helps with donating and giving. Yes. I probably shouldn't be reading the comments. Sorry, guys. It's my first live. So that's one of the rules. Have the links ready. Don't read the comments because they might be delayed. And let's keep on writing these notes down. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. I've also got ideas to maybe make it a self-paced thing, but I'm still going to. I've got more ideas for that. So once I actually see what the 6 weeks looks like done and I have the content, I'm going to start rolling that out more. But that's probably something I've been more excited about than so many things, because I also know that there's a lot of people who are in the group who are watching these videos. They haven't made any progress on their programs. So this, I think, is going to be something that'll help you take that first step, then a second step, then a third step, and then before you know it, you've got a whole company going. But I think a lot of people just need that structure. I know I do. I'm definitely someone who thrives with the right type of structure. A lot of times it has to be, self-enforced. It's hard for me to follow, a plan that I don't understand or have control over. That's why I wasn't a really good employee, but I do still need a structure and a plan to follow. And I think that us learning to become our own managers, our own programmers, our own technicians, and kind of work on ourselves, like diagnose our issues and start making those tweaks. The habit course, that's exactly what's designed to do. And I think that by being able to do that, as I said before, just about any goal that you can think of. I can't think of one goal that wouldn't be easier to accomplish if you were able to master your habits better. And I say that word master very loosely because I don't ever want anybody to think that they've mastered their habits. There's always something more that you can improve, just like ourselves. It's that concept of like one day, okay, everything's going to be done. I'm just going to be that perfect person, and I'm going to want to eat the kale, and I'm going to want to, jog 5 miles a day, and I'm going to want to hit the gym, and I'm going to want to go to bed early, and I'm going to want to wake up early. That's not going to be a point that we get to where the switch flips. There's some people who are like that. There's some people who are up. I know Dan's like that. I know Dan's up early in the morning. He was telling me the other day that he's up early in the morning, just laying in bed at like 6. Just thinking about all the stuff that he can do. He just wants to get out there, start reaching out to his consultation clients and thinking about all the stuff he has to do for everybody. That's awesome. I'm not that guy. Sometimes when I have something that's impending, I can jump out of bed, but a lot of times it's just a slow start. Having a schedule and knowing what my first step is makes it a lot easier, because I know, like, okay, I've got to get out of bed and then start my stretches. Then after that, I start my meditation. Then after that, I go brush my teeth. Then after that, I have a skin routine. Boom, boom, boom. I have all these successions of tasks in little stations that I call them, where it's like I have the physical relationship of it, and I also see it in my head as a list. And it makes it so much easier to start my day, as opposed to the days when I don't have that kind of mindset to start right into something, especially on a weekend. We all screw up our habits on a weekend because we don't have that structure already. When we know we have to be somewhere at 9, to, check into work or whatever, we know that we have to get out of bed, do this, and we just go into that routine. If we were to also automate a routine like that on the weekend, where we're going right into, especially if we've got a side business that we're working on or a project or anything else going on, we would be able to accomplish a lot more because we go right into that flow. And it's something that's enjoyable. You ever notice how that, when you get into that workflow, and a lot of times with me, it's it could be when I'm doing something creative, it could be doing something that's really mundane, but that feeling of like knowing that I've got this momentum of productivity going, it makes me unstoppable. And then whatever the next task is, I just plow right into it. And it's almost like I don't want to stop. One of my biggest problems with habits is waking up early, because the problem that affects that is I don't want to go to sleep at night. I hate going to sleep. I will be at my computer at 4 a.m, like barely awake, just trying to do something, just because I love that feeling of productivity. And it's like it takes some time to start that momentum. Those mornings where I start early and I have that foundation of a habit flow to go right into, boom, 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 boom. I get that momentum earlier. So I have that, and I don't have to wait until the end of my day where I have all my creative juices flowing and everything else is going. I'm already neck deep in it by 11. So that's a half hour. It's actually longer than I thought I would go. The Snapchat stuff, again, they're doing a $1,000 matching bonus. The way I look at it is, so you spend $1,000, and they have other smaller bonuses as well. So if you don't have $1,000 to drop at this, no sweat. They've got one where for $50, they'll match it. Oh, it's not matching. You spend $50 in ads, they'll give you 75. So it's more than matching. You're not getting 25. Again, you spend 50, and then after you spend that 50, then they give you 75 in credit. So you get $125 all together for spending $50. That's pretty good. Not being honest, it's not a great deal of money to be learning Snapchat ads. You're not going to learn a whole lot. You will be able to run a campaign. You will be able to drive traffic to your site. You will be able to generate leads, whatever you want to do. But as far as being able to like compare this ad versus this ad set or group of people in this, that's not going to be enough. $1,000, you spend $1,000, they're going to match you $1,000. And I believe that's only going to be till the end of June. That is huge, because now you're dealing with $2,000. And the way I'm planning on doing it with mine is I'm going to spend the first $1,000 over the first month. That's going to warm up my pixel. I'm going to have a crazy amount of impressions. I'll probably have hundreds of thousands of impressions by the end of that. So it'll also warm up your pixel. If you guys don't understand the pixel, definitely check out the boot camp. I explain everything, pixel, installing it. I'm going to do another video specifically on installing the pixel in JavaScript, so I can walk you guys through that. It's not as scary as it seems. You just have to know where to look, and I'll show you all that fun stuff. And in any case, so warming up the pixel for the first month, blow that first 1,000. Then I have another $1,000 coming to me at the end of that, and then I can more strategically spend that. So not only is Snapchat way cheaper than Facebook and Instagram and Google PPC, pay per click ads, if you're not familiar with what that means, cheaper than all those. They're outperforming all of those right now. But then also the fact that they're willing to match you, like I said, up to $1,000. I've never seen any bonus that big before. They've got two others. I mentioned the other one. It's $50, you get 75. The other one is you spend $350, then they give you $375. So as far as dollar spent to dollar received ratio, the best one is $50 and you get 75, right? That's 150% return on your investment. That's awesome. But like I said, it's not going to let you get too deep into the experience. So the matching 1,000 for 1,000 basically cuts your price in half for your ad spend, and it'll warm your pixel up so much that the theory about the pixel is the more experience they have, it's basically something that watches who goes to your site, how they engage with your site, who buys, who signs up, who does an add to cart, who just fills out a lead form, all that stuff, collects all that data, gets an idea of who else is going to fit that kind of profile and tendency and behavior pattern, and decide to show that person your ad instead of someone who's shown characteristics of not having any correlation with people who have bought your product before, right? So if your product's often bought by people wearing a blue shirt, a gray hat, named Casey, if 1 out of 10 clients, which is a high prevalency, has that correlation, then you showing your ads to guys with gray hats, blue shirts, and the name Casey has a high tendency of, there's something about them that's into buying your product. Maybe something more applicable. Let's say CrossFit people between the age of 35 and 45 who have, over $75,000 in individual income. Those three correlations, you see a lot of that in your clientele group, finding more of those people outside your small group. That makes sense, right? Well, that's what the pixel does. It makes those correlations, finds those people, shows those people your ad instead of some random person. The smarter that pixel, the more reps that pixel has, the smarter it gets. The more people it watches come in and out of your store. It's like, okay, this guy does this. Okay, this guy's got that. He likes these things. He follows these things. His social media behaviors are this. These are the other websites that he's gone to. These are the other things he purchases. It'll find a correlation. It's like, oh, wow, a lot of people who buy your product also are into road biking. So maybe I should start sending my ads in front of people who are into road biking. And wow, look, those people click on the ad and convert more often than not compared to the person who's into knitting. That's the idea of the pixel. Having $1,000 to just burn through and get pixel experience is going to make it smarter. And then the theory behind it is, as the pixel is better at identifying these people, as it goes through more and more people, it's able to fine tune, and it'll make your pixel spending more, your ad spending more efficient, because the pixel is going to be better at putting your ad in front of people who are going to be having a higher likelihood of clicking, converting, giving you money, right? So not only does it have to spend less money to get you more deals, but now more deals are coming through. So you've got more money to spend on your ads. So even if you don't have the sustainable ad budget to maintain $1,000 a month, you don't have to. You start off with $1,000 your first month, get that extra $1,000 to spend on your second month. Now you got 2 months, 60 days of data, $2,000 of data, hundreds of thousands of impressions, God knows how many thousands and thousands of swipe ups and ads and purchases. I don't know what you're going to have at the end of that, but now you can trim it down and it'll still have the benefit of everything that you've spent in the past. And after 6 more months at $500, it's still got all that aggregate data that it's able to use to make its decisions moving forward. That's why I'm so excited about it. So the $1,000, I know it's a lot of money for some of you. It's not a small amount for me, but knowing what I know about how well Snapchat is expected to perform as opposed to Facebook, the way I looked at it is, even just putting $1,000 towards Snapchat versus $1,000 towards Facebook, I'm spending it more wisely, because Facebook's, like I said, they're getting too expensive. They're over inundated. The Snapchat platform, I'm very excited about. TikTok, I'm excited about, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be really good for our product yet. For if you're in the meal prep business, TikTok right now is too young. Give it 10 years though. We'll see who's still on there. Those kids will now be attorneys and doctors. Then it'll be a really good platform. Right now, it's a lot of younger people. We're getting some older people on there too, but I think Snapchat right now is probably the unsung hero of the social media marketing world right now. So check out my last video on it. If that didn't convince you, I've got more data that I go over in there, more compelling reasons. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that was Ralph. Mike Dooley, obviously, you make it easy for me, and Ardap Dan. Thank you, anybody who's watching this after the fact. Thank you for sticking with my ramblings, and I hope to catch you on the next live stream.